this will be more of just a talking piece. One of my longtime friends came to me with a concern recently about C6 Benny here. I'm not sure if they have actually C6'd him or not, I didn't ask. Their concern was more with the over-exaggeration that if you C6 Benny, your account is ruined. And that may have been true like in the super early days of Genshin, but in the meantime, the teams Benny actually messes up is so abysmally small, specifically when you have him C6 versus when you don't. And there are teams where C6 Benny is actually quite good. Now, obviously, I'm not saying go C6 your Benny right now. For the new players or those that just kind of forgot what C6 Benny does, let me explain that real quick. Essentially, when any sword, claymore, or polearm wielding characters are standing inside of his burst radius, their normal attacks will be infused with pyro. The easiest, probably most famous example of why this is bad is Eula. Eula is one of the few straight up physical DPSs. You might consider Razor to be another pretty much pure physical, but some people actually do build him in Electro, like Kaching. But yeah, Eula is a pure physical main DPS, which means she's going to be out on the field swinging her basic attacks that should be physical because you build her physical. Also, her burst does physical damage. Also, Benny's a pretty good partner for her to boost her attack even higher. The issue is when you C6, her normal attacks are going to do pyro damage. And outside of a meme comp, you're not going to be building a pyro Eula. One little scenario, if I recall correctly, I heard from Cap, where C6 Benny could be better than C5, in a Eula comp, is if you're trying to get really big burst numbers. Because the thing is, Eula's burst will always attack with physical, even inside of Benny's ring. But to make the burst stronger, you have to continually physical attack with Eula. And if you have a really strong Eula, you're going to end up killing everyone just with her basics before her burst explodes. Especially in Abyss 7, which is, I guess, kind of a obsolete damage per screenshot area thing, but maybe with her doing weaker pyro attacks, you can get those stacks and actually see a really big number from her burst. That is, of course, a bit of a stretch, and I wouldn't say it's a good enough reason to C6 your Benny if you primarily run Eula. Here are all of the sword, claymore, and polearm users currently in the game. An Ayaka team would be another one Benny would mess up, but I've heard you don't generally run Benny with Ayaka anyway, so even so, it should be noted that Benny will overwrite her own cryo infusion with pyro. Again, physical Kaching, physical Razor. Some could also say Electro Kaching will be messed up by him as well, but I tend to disagree. When I was running Electro Kaching, I wasn't doing a ton of basics. She was more of a bursty DPS along with her 2-tap E Stellar Restoration here, although it is something to keep in mind because her infusion will also get overridden by Benny's. And Kaching could still very well be one of the first units you get and decide to raise as like your starter main DPS. And if at that point you have somehow already summoned 7 Bennies, then think about it. Those are pretty much the only units I can think of that actually use their basics to deal damage that will get overridden by Benny and aren't already pyro, like Hu Tao. I was using C6 Benny with Hu Tao a lot. It's not the best team combo because you don't want to have her always healed. I just liked having Benny because he's such a jack of all trades, you know, healing, attack boost. And him being C6 actually helps because it also gives me a 15% pyro damage bonus. And then of course for Yoimiya, C6 is also just straight up good. 15% extra pyro damage bonus, no drawbacks. And actually every other pyro unit, Diluc, Klee, Yinfei, they're all gonna get that 15% pyro bonus. In Yinfei and Klee's case, their normal attacks are pyro anyway. I'm pretty sure physical Diluc isn't really that much of a thing. Probably someone made a good physical Diluc at one point, but he does so much pyro stuff that I don't think his normal attacks being pyro is gonna mess anything up. Good for national team as well. Shanling will have 15% extra pyro bonus, and no one else in national team or many of those super high energy recharge teams does damage with their basic attacks. And most infusers like Tartaglia here that make his normal attacks hydro can't be overridden with Benny C6. Even inside of his ring, he'll still continue to do hydro damage. Physical Rosaria might be a thing as well. I mean, she does do a lot of physical boosts or physical resistant shred or whatever. I don't think main DPS Rosaria is a super popular thing, but should be noted. But yeah, in a nutshell, for Pyro teammate, C6 actually helps and does good stuff. For physical, normal attack main DPSs like Eula, possibly Kaching, possibly Razor, etc., it's definitely going to impact those teams in a negative way. And then for pretty much everyone else, it won't matter. It won't even do anything. I think my friend's issue with this stance and this sort of old advice is the lack of nuance. I mean, the internet and social media in general is the death of nuanced opinions. Everything has to be extreme, one way or the other. You're either with me or you're against me. And we can kind of see that here. If you C6 your Benny, your account is ruined, you're stupid, and your mother doesn't love you. But yes, it is, at least for now, irreversible. So make sure you know what you're doing before activating it. These days, however, considering the amount of supports we have and the amount of different team combos we can have where we can replace Benny with someone else, these These days, it's more of a choice and less of a mistake. If you main Yoimiya or some other pyro and you want that 15% pyro damage bonus, it's worth it. And even if you wanted to run a Eula comp later on down the line, you can still do that. Just replace Binny with someone else. I mean, when I really think about it, she has one of the highest base attacks in the game at 950 anyway. Pair that with a gravestone or any attack percent, even a 4-star weapon. Actually, let me just build her real quick. There, my Pale Flame set. Already at nearly 3000 attack without any other team buffs going. Getting another up to around 1000 if you have a fully maxed Binny won't even be that insane. I don't really explore Eula comps too much, but I would imagine in the meantime, there are probably just better supports anyway for a Eula comp. Although with all these new Dendro reactions, I would imagine physical is falling a bit out of favor also, especially with like Aggravate and Electro. So yeah, that's pretty much all for my little rant there. It helps some teams, it hurts some teams. It's a choice, not a mistake. I C6'd my Binny super early on when it was still considered definitely more on the side of mistake. And yeah, way back then, nearly 2 years ago, we didn't have the same options we have now. And yeah, while most people won't have every unit to choose from, as long as you don't specifically go for teams where he's going to hurt those teams, which again is very few in this day and age, it's totally fine. But yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. Just trying to combat a little bit the old outdated information that C6 Binny equals account ruined. Feel free to leave your own thoughts in the comments down below though. Dropping a like or subscribing to the channel if you enjoyed is always greatly appreciated as well. Thanks, as always, for watching, and until next time,